Welcome, seekers and visionaries, to Oracle Mountain Chats. Here on this sacred virtual peak, we gather, a space for oracles to share their wisdom, their visions, and their craft. It all began with a calling I could not ignore. One day, within a vision, I held this conch shell in my hands, and as I blew its resonant note into the world, I felt its vibration ripple across unseen realms. It was a summons, a signal to fellow oracles scattered near and far. I saw that we were on a mountain, vast and towering, reaching into the heavens. At its base, the world buzzed with life, people moving, creating, searching. Yet at the summit, there was stillness, clarity, and a circle of light. There, oracles stood, their gaze focused both outward and inward. They spoke of the energies they felt, the shifts they saw, and the whispers of the unseen. They weren't above the world, they were its witnesses and its guides. From this vision, OracleFest was born, a celebration of connection, insight, and the timeless wisdom that flows through us all. Here we gather as oracles to share the visions Spirit whispers to us, to speak of the energy currents flowing through nature and humanity, and to help guide those who seek answers in a world that often feels lost. So grab a seat, breathe in the mountain air, and join us as we begin today's chat. Whether it's an energy reading, a conversation about our craft, our path, or simply sharing a perspective on the world below, this is where we wait for more oracles to join us on the mountain. What wisdom will the mountain bring us today? Let's find out together. Step into this sacred space where the wisdom of the ages converges with the questions of the present. Okay, here we find ourselves back again on Oracle Mountain, this sweet virtual space, which is getting more and more full every time I check back to it. There's more and more, I guess I want to say construction, it feels like, on this Oracle Mountain top. And even if I don't always come and share all the different visions that I am having with OracleFest, I know that you all listening know that there's something really building here, and I continue to tap into it for us all, which includes bringing the beautiful Michelle. Oh, I didn't even ask the pronunciation of your last name. We were just getting along so well here. Is it Coutinho or Coutinho? Or something different?
It's actually Coutinho. It's
Coutinho.
Coutinho, Michelle Coutinho, which is
Coutinho.
why online I go by Michelle Infinity to make it
Yeah,
easier for
that's also
everyone
what I had
because
seen.
that's
So I was like,
Michelle
wait a second.
Infinity,
Yeah.
easy. But my name is Michelle Coutinho, yeah, and it's a
Michelle
Portuguese
Coutinho.
name.
What does it mean, Coutinho? Do you know?
It means little plot of land assigned by the king. Like the Inho is a Brazilian, it means little, and Cote is like I don't know, some kind of pasture, a
Oh
sacred
my
little piece of
gosh.
land.
I love that. I'm glad I
Yeah.
asked. My last name Graham means like a grand home or estate, like some and so we have almost a similar last name thing going on here. It's like we're given something to stay in.
Very
Yeah,
cool. Yay.
I love that. So we welcome Michelle here to Oracle Mountain. And to Oracle Fest, she'll be at our upcoming Abundance Podium, holding the frequency of expression, because truly, when we talk about abundance, we're probably thinking our fullest, truest expression is that best way forward to be in the flow of abundance. Isn't that one of the most hot topics in the spiritual world these days? So I'm very glad to finally be bringing it more pointedly to Oracle Fest and maybe shining some different lights on it than we see out in the mass social media marketing sphere. And Michelle is definitely one of those voices. I actually, as soon as we started speaking, I went, oh yeah, this is like a raw, authentic, this is someone who's very true to her path. So I'm just overjoyed to welcome you, Michelle, to this space. And so you do vocal empowerment work. You do also, we're calling it coaching, but we understand the depth of it is so much deeper than that. And I really liked, we were chatting before about kind of like how people find you. And I love that you actually practice a way which is in true alignment with the missions that call for you, or the quests. I call them side quests sometimes because it feels like something comes in with all this like synchronous alignment. How did you even find me? How did you even discover this? And yet it works, and yet it works beyond what people may advise, beyond what the common narratives are out there. So I would say you're someone who is walking a very authentic path in opening your arms to this spiritual work. So let's talk more about it. Did I miss something? I feel like I must have, of key parts of your work.
I think I'm actually very grateful because you're being a beautiful reflection for me. And I think that is the essence of my work. And the irony of it is that there are some people, we all have different reasons why we might step into leadership in some way or become a counselor or become a healer. Or nowadays, since it's like more trending and popular, people might go. I know people who are real estate agents and then they decided, or marketers, and then they decided to be a coach. And it's like a smart business move. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what we're talking about is like this deeper authenticity of like when the path chooses you and then like your initiations. For me, and this is something I learned years and years ago because the first archetype that ever came to me was teacher. It was like very clear. And also on my Saturn return, I became a college professor of
Mm.
user experience design, actually, and interface because I have a background in graphic art and all of that
Amazing.
stuff. So that was like my more linear world. But, and then right before that, a year before that, I became a yoga teacher. So I was like officially a teacher and a counselor. But I always knew that I was the kind of teacher who had to go through the lessons myself before I taught them to other people. And then I was like mad about that, like 12, 15 years ago. I was like, what? Why? This is so annoying. And then as I've I've become more of a counselor or, having clients, people that I have to tend to, I'll go through things. It doesn't happen as regular as it used to, but I'll go through specific situations. And then those situations will be circling back to like something that I then am helping someone with. And so it's a good mirror for me in this moment because it's so hard to trust this spiritual invisible world. I mean, at least for me, I'm not somebody who like has absolute faith all the time. I'm somebody
I
who
think it
there's
would
a
be
phrase.
unreasonable too. I would question anyone who
Well, I
has
think
absolute unshakable, like entirely 1,000% unshakable faith. It's very
the
rare.
little Mexican grandmothers that I've seen, you know what I mean? Where they're just like devout Mother Mary, it's all day, like really beautiful, or like Caribbean woman, you know what I mean? Like
Yes, yes,
I'm a little jealous of them because they're so, and it's really that's a specific frequency too, because it's the
yes,
people who were indigenous that
yes,
got the indoctrination of Catholicism, but wove those two things together
yes.
and are just like, yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, absolute. And like, anyway, so that's not my path. So I'm more, I'm somebody who wrestles with God. And, but in that, I'm always being initiated into faith. And because of the path that I'm on, it is like that. It's tricky. It's like there's no real reason to trust it, but then there's like little glimmers continuously that lead me to be like, this is it. And so you're mirroring that to me in this moment so beautifully. So thank
We
you.
have a very
Yeah.
similar path, so you're also mirroring to me. Yes, we have a very, very similar path. And I love the idea of like that exact frequency that you're talking about. I totally know what you mean. And I think there's probably something really beautiful about the strength of the maternal line also carrying this sort of like warmth and like nurturing belief of like it is going to all work out. Like we are protected, we are safe. That's so needed in this world as well. So absolutely value those voices. And I think probably we end up giving that in the end, but our experience of it is a lot more tumultuous. And I was just explaining this today
Totally.
actually to someone, which is because they have a way of talking about their spiritual experiences because they're maybe they consider themselves newer on this path. And so they have a way of talking about it, which to me is a lot more excitable or sensational, which I always reject like a little hag woman. It's like, it is not like that. It is darker than that. It's like not quite what they want to hear. But I noticed myself having that similar feeling of like hilariously, I want to match the energy. And I'm like, I don't know if I can. Cause like to me, it's a bit of a task sometimes, this whole this whole spiritual mission. But absolutely every time you see
I think you're
clients,
talking about like the old,
yeah,
old soul. You're talking about like you know what I'm talking about, where you've got like the grit and you're like, I'm over it. And like, I made a joke. Can I make a joke really quick? And then I
please,
want to talk about whatever
always
you're going to say
joke.
with the clients.
No,
I was
please.
at this party. I have a really beautiful group of Israeli friends, and they were in like kind of a cult version of Judaism or whatever. And so we were all at this like slumber party, but it wasn't really, it was just like a party. It was wonderful. And we were microdosing psychedelics. And they put on a sound healing, and one of the women was like reading, I think, a script from the Kabbalah or something like very mystical. And I started giggling insanely with my girlfriend about how like, yes, God, fear the God, dramatic thing. And we were just like, we fell over because it's so funny. And it's with all of my love about religion and God and the Kabbalah and mysticism and all these things. But then there's like my human personality that's just like, yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I really feel for it. Like, I always try and just own it and be like, hey, honestly, I know I'm probably not giving you the right reaction right now. I'm gonna just call that out. Like, I another sweet example. I had this client who was nervous to first take part in like my intuition program. It's 4 months, it's a commitment, it's something different. And she's like, I saw ladybugs, and so I thought this is it. I went, well, how the heck did ladybugs tell you to take this program? Like in my mind, I was like, girl, you got to just get a bit more proof than that,
That we shouldn't question.
Totally, totally. And then it was so sweet because recently she had taken a break from doing this work. And then recently she came back like wanting to be like full force, hey, I'm ready. I saw a ladybug today and I knew it was it. And great. I'm really glad this works for you. And I had such a different reaction to it than the first time around. So I know I must be shifting. I'm appreciating it better from a distance. But it is so funny. I guess this is one of the things I like about the Oracle Mountain chats, because I think sometimes it's helpful for people to have an insight of what it feels like for us if we've been kind of doing this work for a little while. Because some of the folks who listen at OracleFest are maybe wanting to do this work someday. And so it's good to have kind of like a real natural heads up of like, it doesn't just glossily disappear, this whole life experience thing. You still have it the whole time. There isn't this like, we're not necessarily looking for that. I think at a certain point, you're not looking for some stasis of everything being consistently good or easy, right? Like we kind of really enjoy.
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy. You go through something and then it came up in a client session, so it's more meaningful that you went through your thing too, because it has
Oh my
greater,
gosh.
right? So like, don't you just appreciate all the like crummy things because oh, this is going to come up somewhere. For someone else, it's going
The
to help.
path of service is that way. And that's the shamanic piece. And we share that because you were talking about that's the real like a warriorship of service and devotion and like I can even feel like how my voice has dropped like as we're talking about that. So there's the one piece which is the like haha let's make fun of God because God requires all these things from us and we can kind of be like okay yeah whatever. We'll call that the free will part of our human
Mhm.
experience of like okay whatever. And then there's like the no BS, like real truth around like devotion requires discipline and we have to come correct and you must have integrity. And if you are truly called to be of service, and this is something that I carry really deep in my bones, it's non-negotiable. And so clients who come to me who might say, I have powers, I'm meant to use my voice, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that. I do tell them about like, the priestess path or whatever you think the power is that is on this path. It's not all like light and it's I make a couple jokes. One of them is the Aladdin genie. Do you remember in the genie in Aladdin where he was like phenomenal cosmic powers, itty bitty living space? Do you remember that? That's like my life experience. I'm on a very tight leash. My human self and my human desires is second to what my vibrational requirements are to sustain the channel that I hold
Mhm.
because I am incarnated flat plane into a life of service.
Mhm.
It's funny, I'm using like Northeastern gangster talk, flat plane, as I'm talking about but that's how it weaves for me,
Yeah.
is like flat plane, you are in devotion to like some ninth dimensional beings or whatever, and like that's how we
Yes.
roll, right? You
Yes.
hold angels when you walk, you call and you sing and you call down the heavens. I'm doing a full moon attunement tonight. And I don't feel that's the other thing about being a path of service is like I would feel dry and withered out if I wasn't channeling for people, if I wasn't doing my one-on-one sessions, if I
Yes.
wasn't do if we you weren't producing a thing like OracleFest, right?
Yeah.
If we didn't, we would feel lost in some way. So
Yes.
it requires a lot of us, but we would have it no other way. And to me, these are souls, beings who have been like on there's some of I don't know if all of us as souls are priests, are wise women, are healers, but there's a quadrant of us that are, and for those of you who are, you have been all the time, I think. That's how I see it.
I have seen that in my, so okay, we're getting into a juicy topic that I knew we would get into, but I wasn't sure how. And this is a beautiful bridge. So thank you for paving this rainbow bridge from where we were
Okay.
to past lives. Because to
Yeah.
me, when I think about these past lives that I've experienced, not all of them are a named healer person, but some of them are. And the ones that aren't, there is a deep, sometimes dark, sometimes very dark. I don't know. There's been dark times in the past as there are now, but there are like things that really feel as though it's a part of the healing mission that I'm in here now. And there's no surprise, of course, everything is related because healing is like related holistically to all parts of ourselves, I would think. But there's like the specific messages we're here for, and for all those folks who are like earlier out on their path in their mind, and because maybe they've been here many times before anyway, but stepping onto the path of like serving more vocally, I'll say. I think that's a lot of people who will end up coming through Oracle Fest now and through the ages are people who are like really seeking a group of people who support them continuing to raise their voice. And it seems to me that all of these folks, like when they have remembrance of other aspects of themselves also being in service, it feels so much easier to hold that here because you trust it, you know that part of you better. And I had an interesting past life recall where, a lot of people talk about the witch wound. This is a common thing. I'm sure that you come across this often as well in your work. And I would love to hear any insights and stories that you have for it. My thing's short here, but my past life showed me that like actually I was very protected in the village that I was serving out of. It was like in the UK, and I had all these different herbs, and I would see people all the time, and I'd be cooking up little potions for them, and it was like extremely earth based because we were just talking about that beforehand. So plants and flowers, for example, when I did my aromatherapy certification, I went, this is so easy. It's like this memory just came fully back and I knew exactly how I wanted to use everything. Like the intuition was that much sharper in that area. I think that's true. We're all trying to find, we know we're intuitive, but we're trying to find those areas of like best growth, right? Because we can just try to get 10 certifications and it doesn't actually tell us what our true gift is. So it's like those insights of past lives, I think, can be really juicy. For me, this one was I didn't actually have a witch wound because my community actually protected me when people came through to hunt witches. They were like, "Yeah, no witches here. She just cooks a lot." It's like pretty nice that they actually liked me being around. And I didn't have a partner or a family or anything like that. I was super fulfilled, and so it's given me so much peace to look at that and go, "Well, I could just live my whole life like this and be fulfilled and protected by people." And so if I have the opposite of a witch wound, I should probably go tell people they can have that too. And that's part of my mission here with Oracle Fest is saying, hey, what if we overrid that? What if we went further past that wound and
Uh-huh.
saw the other side? So, anyways, which wounds, past lives? What are you thinking?
I love that. I mean, so much. My most popular insight timer meditation is something that is a transmission that I channeled over a cello piece that my friend created
Mm,
in 2020. And it's just a 15-minute meditation. You guys probably can see a link. We'll put like a link to it.
yes.
And people have said like, oh my God, this is the best 15 minutes that I've ever spent in my life around making peace. I have a very different imprint around persecution, and it's something that has like kind of I don't want to say plagued me because it might be a
It could
pun,
plague
dun,
you.
dun, plague.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm just kidding.
Please say plague you.
A little witch wound humor for you back in the day. That was like the
Middle Ages
nerdiest thing I
joke.
could have possibly said.
It's really
Yeah,
well received
exactly.
here. You're in the
But
right place to make that joke.
good, good, good. And I'm also I had to deal with not that I want to trigger anyone, but so brace yourself. But I had to do personally 2 years ago. I kept getting a lot of insights around being beheaded.
Ah,
And I had more than one healer, channeler, including Lee Harris, who is quite popular,
mhm,
tell me that they was like, he's like, you've had some harsh exits from the planet.
mhm.
And they maybe perhaps that's why I do the singing and the voice work. But what you were something that's coming up again to say, which is something that you hinted towards around this is what my real belief is with past lives, and then I'll tell you a little story that a little memory that came up. My belief with past lives, as I've worked with my clients and in my own initiations, is that there are portals of time. Perhaps it attunes with our astrology, perhaps it's the eclipses or some kind of, I don't know exactly why the map happens the way it does, but there's like these little points where a past life piece of you in the dimension of time space will almost erupt. And it's like a part of your psyche, your soul is asking to be integrated.
Uh-huh.
And in the challenge of integration, you might go through a sort of like either a rupture or you're hitting a wall energetically that mirrors this same wound that you had in another lifetime. And the way to integrate it is by feeling the pain that might be there. And then once you expand, or if I'm counseling somebody, it's remapping that piece from pain into kind of seeing a higher principle or a higher orchestration or re-transmuting the energy in some way. And then that integrates the energy. And then once the energy is integrated, we receive a download of the powers that we had at that time as well. And I've seen that hinted in Alana Fairchild's Oracle decks, where she
Mhm.
talks about like the different past life initiations. So I knew that from my own work and then working with other people. And then I was like, this isn't just me, which is normally how things in my life have happened, where I'm like, I have a download about this. And then I read about it somewhere. I'm like, oh, cool. It's like a
Oh,
real
good.
thing.
Someone else agrees. Yeah.
And then I was a part of this really cool priestess initiation after like I had like a hardcore dark night of the soul. And then one of my little pieces that are like when you meet allies on the path that put you back into yourself. I went with Sienna Sherman, who's a yoga teacher who travels around the world, and we went to Italy and Glastonbury with 30 women.
Mm.
And a woman who was like my best friend on the first trip, and she ended up not coming to the next two trips, said that she remembered me from a past life. And she had a very specific memory of she remembered when she died, I sang in front of a whole group of people and like helped her soul go across
Mm.
the veil. And she remembers that from me. She remembers knowing that. She remembered all of those things. And this was 2018. And it was right after my Dark Night of the Soul was 2017. And I was just, I mean, I have sung my whole life, but because I got blown up, basically psychically attacked and all the things, I was fragmented in a deep way. So even though I was like in this group of women and we would sing together, and like you could see, like I had a lot of power and voltage to sing, but I also had a lot of shakiness and insecurity because of what I had just had a very traumatic experience with a spiritual group that I really trusted.
Mhm.
And so I was like kind of like a foal, like a deer with wobbly legs, right? And so it was like being empowered into me, but also very shaky. And then that memory, when she was describing it to me, I think we were on a bus or in a car ride or something on the trip, and I like saw what she was describing while she was saying it. Like I could see
Mhm.
it, and I was like, oh yeah, that totally happened. And it does, it feels like these little pieces kind of make your psyche more whole, and you
Yes.
can absorb the truth of who you really are on a multidimensional level from these little memories. And you don't want to get stuck there, and you don't want to claim an identity from something that isn't now, but it does give you a feeling of congruence and being seen in a way that you don't get mirrored to you when you're in your day-to-day, emails and la la la, right? It's a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
frequency. And then you're like, oh yeah, I was a multidimensional singer. I know how to sing people across the veil and stuff. And just even those things remind you of core memories about how important that is.
Yes.
In the book that they talk about that is like we used to sing to birth. We used to sing to die. We used to, around portals and thresholds. That's like really important. I used to talk about that a lot more. I haven't been. I should keep that up because people need, these ancient pieces, right? And you were talking about the Wheel of the Year, these ancient like codes of that Gaelic-y, which there's a tone, I know that I have that in my, I know that I have that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels, for me, it's very important because I think something that we ought to do a lot better in society is celebrate more. And so part of the healing being feeling complete is the celebration of the return of you, right? And so as we like, I say I said earlier today, I was being a little dramatic, but maybe not. But I said sometimes the healing path for me feels more like staring down the barrel at the worst parts of things because that is what brings light, right? It's like so obvious to me that that's how that works. So I continue to say, hey, whatever you got, I'm willing to figure it out. I'm going to figure out how to transmute what you need me to do, that service to the devotion to the, okay, whatever this path, is leading me down.
It's good.
And yeah, it is. And I think a lot of folks, when they come to either like a past life memory or a skill that feels so overly familiar that it just comes, the singing for you was so familiar, and yet you just didn't realize the depth to which it was wanting to be expressed until someone like opened that veil for you, right? Opened that door and you saw it. I think that happens to a lot of people also when they meet people for the first time and they have this like kind of insider connection that feels like beyond lifetimes. And so basically anyone at any level of any experience absolutely has this and knows what this is, which is that just something which is so true. It's like it kind of brings you back to true north. It's like if you were it's just like, I don't know where I'm going, I'm not sure. And then she shows you this thing and you went, that's me. True north. Oh, it's like that instant. And a lot of people talk about it like remembering. So it feels like a very familiar experience, doesn't it? When these parts get called back. I still have a music mentor that I work with who plays cello, funny enough, and
Mhm.
is brilliant. We grew up together actually, and then met as adults like years later to work with each other. They worked with me for spiritual work, and then I thought I really actually need support for my music and artistry. So we found a way to continue supporting each other. And their identity is of 8 beings. And when I do shamanic healing circle spirit work, it's 8 beings. So as soon as they were starting to describe this to me, they weren't out as plural at that time, and it made total sense to me. I went, yeah. I mean, if your identity is living up there, that's cool. There's no harm for that. For you, you're an artist. You could totally live up there. And actually, as long as you're doing art and you're doing tech stuff here, and you have a place to live, you're going to be fine. Really, I could see it so clearly. I'd never freed myself up in that same way. So like these mirrors are so important because like what we can see for others, we struggle to like fully see for ourselves. And that feels like part of the message that we'll end up getting out of this abundance podium is part of like
Mm.
that true north, that who you are, that
Sorry.
no, I'll keep filling the
It's a
space
really
here.
important message.
It does. It feels like that there's like a lot of value for us in sharing more about our experiences in past lives, about our experiences internally. If we feel that we're connected to 8 beings, that's a really important thing for someone else to hear. For me, I look at those 8 beings that I work with in my healing spirit circle, and I'm like, yeah, that's a part of my psyche. All of them. If you were to just look at now, it's gonna be very exposing if people go and watch all the different videos that I have of introducing some of my guides, because if you were to actually really look at those 8 guides, it is an expression of me in some way in these like rainbow prism lights that take different forms or something. And it's all part of healing work to feel connected to our more well-rounded self, I would think. Our self, maybe people get confused with ego and self, maybe, but I really think there's like a strong spirit self that we are
I
meant to
agree.
express, right? Like I don't want to limit. Some people get caught up with I'm
Yeah.
scared of ego and I'm scared of identity, but so beautiful when you break through the other side to like your unique expression, your medicine, your pillar.
Yeah. I've been told the same things by other mediums and people that the guides are us. but I
Yeah.
also see it like how Ram Dass describes like the soul pod.
Mhm.
And I think that the way that I perceive it has to do with and this is one of my mediums, she said this. She was like, I'm like, where are all the people who are in my frequency? I live in Austin, Texas, right? So I'm like, where are the like old soul, like gangster, like where, like Lemurian, like where are those people?
Yes. Yes.
Because we
Yes.
have a lot of spiritual people, but like where are like my particular star? Like where's like the old, school Syrian code keepers? And she was like, "You're the one who chose to incarnate out of your little team here. And so you're not really going to find an exact match of, and I don't know, think that's
Yes.
true for everybody, but I think like for my particular, I tend to be unique. And I think that the beings that hold me are also glued or contracted in some way that like that's why they come when I say I can also I've learned from doing so many ceremonial spaces like what they're yes and what they're no to. Like
Hmm.
if other people, if I do a ceremony or I'm called to sing, and there's a lot of ego, not in the way that you were talking about it, but a
Hmm.
lot of in the negative way. There's
Yeah.
competition, there's whatever. My guides don't play.
Yeah.
They're like not, they're like hands off. They're like, okay, whatever, this is boring. But then, but then, so if it's like performance based, it's that. If there's a collective container and the container is really has the sincerity to it, they will fly around and like show off. And it's really funny the difference because when I was like a budding energy healer, wise woman, archetype singer person, I would think it was me.
Yeah.
Until like last year, I had like a very clear, like last October, I did a thing and there was like I could see, and the people were literally like it was for a private retreat, and the woman it was a woman who's very experienced, and she comes from Bali. She moved to, and she's a speaker, and she's teaching people how to speak, and all the people are very much advanced on the path. They're all 40s, 50s year old, right? So it's not even young people; it's like older people. I'm doing a sound healing for them. And as the energies are coming through me and we're singing in the wind, and so you can hear the like 12 people, they're like, ooh, like, like you can, they're like, wow, like, ooh, and it's so sweet. And I was like, this has nothing to do with me. This is like them, like just having a party. And it was really cute and it was really kind. And I kind of
Yes.
saw and that kind of goes back with what we were talking about at the beginning about like the rare way that my work is, the transmission, the frequency that is, the way that marketing works, the way that all these things work, and what spirituality in its essence is hidden. It is mysterious. There is a little
It's the
bit of a
unknown.
cloister around it. Yeah, it just is. And the truest frequencies are that way. And it's not because they're not expressed, by the way, or not hiding, because that's a whole thing with social media and like people,
Yeah.
like the way that people come to, like everyone's like, I want my throat chakra to whatever, or I want this, or I want power in some kind of outward expression. And that's not how you get it. Ram Dass like literally has this teaching. He's one of my teachers. Ram Dass was the dude that like I listened to when I was 17, his tracks from the 70s. And I was like, this guy makes a lot more sense than anybody in my high school. Like I was like
Right.
anybody. And then I ended up meeting him and we talked a lot in my 20s on Skype and then I met him a couple times and then so anyway, he's my dude. But he talks about power and he talks about like if you grab it, if you want it, you can't have it because that's not the way it works. And then the more that we're wide and neutral and kind of like what you were saying around like, hey, I'm here. I'm here, use me, I will to will thy will, not my will, but thy will, O Lord. Like, and you really mean it, like when you really are sincere and you're asking for not even like you to have power, but like you to be in right alignment with truth,
Mhm.
then I think what comes through us is abundant and pure and expressive and amazing. And then we might have obstacles to it. So this is what I do in the healing work is like sometimes you can't get your mom's voice out of your head, or sometimes you can't get, your ancient grandmother, you don't even know that's her voice, but the programming that you feel in your head, that's like your inner cop, that's like telling you it's not safe or whatever, is actually an echo of either ancestral pieces, DNA, or perhaps like the religion that you're in, indoctrinated into. Like there's all these different voices that are external that are limiting our self-expression. But I think like our soul, and like they call it in the Vedas, Ananda Maya
Mm.
Kosha. Ananda means bliss. So it's like genuinely singing and open and radiant. And so we can attune to that when we get the other stuff out of the frequency. And then it
So
just
true.
is. It's so
It just
cool. Yeah.
is. And it really takes the pressure off when, like, when you're talking about these like guides or like the energy moving through you, that is the feeling, right? That's why it's relieving and it feels so good to be able to serve, is like we are opening up our channel to
Ah,
allow more spirit through, right?
right,
I love this old
right, yeah.
the word genius comes from the word genus, which meant spirit. And so people used to believe, like in Roman Greek times, they used to believe that like genius was only a spirit moving through you at the moment and then leaving to go inspire someone else. And so it's like the spirit of creative expression or of genius or of invention or, whatever the thing will be that we're tuning into. It's like really actually not us, and it takes the pressure off. We don't have to be that. We allow that at times. Not all the time, at times. Some people, like my parents like to joke that I have a horseshoe up my butt because good things happen to me and somehow I land on my feet, right? And I go, yeah, or I'm trying to do good by myself, and so good is happening, and I trust that it is continually happening, and so I see it and I point it out. But I do think it's still cute. It's still a funny way of looking at my life, because alignment isn't what they thought it was going to be for me, right? But alignment is like what feels right. And it's true of all of us who have parents, we've gone another way than them. And so, like that, those imprints, maybe our past life imprints, everything that you're saying of all these extra influences and factors, they're also mirroring and showing you a part of yourself, right? And so it's like, however you're going to turn at it, are you turning at it and looking at like these things are beating us down? Like, how many narratives do I hear on a day-to-day basis about the world beating people down right now? It's a very dense, tough time for a lot of folks, and politically our world is recalibrating, doing something. Certainly, it's feeling more intense for a lot of people, and so I hope that some of helping to empower more voices and share more stages is allowing more folks to remember the part of them that already knows, that already snaps right back into place in these like little moments and has a true connection to like what their soul is here to do, because that's actually when things move easiest, and we're all looking for something. But yeah, you attaching to power, like attaching to, let's use the abundance kind of, big one that we're going to come up to
Sure.
soon, right? Like if you look at people who are saying, I really want wealth, I really want wealth, I really want wealth, and then you're not saying yes when someone offers you a meal when you need it because you're too proud and you really believe that you're just going to be able to figure it out by the end of the week, you don't want anyone to pay for a meal for you, right? Then you're like standing in the way of what is truly abundant, which is you have community, you have support, you have food being passed to you, you have love, right? And so then it siphons off someone's ability to stay open and present. And so my hope is that like we create a better world through so many people trusting their own really unique way of being in the world. And so thank you for modeling that for folks, because it
Aw.
just feels so important. Like what else, what other defenses or I don't know, attack maneuvers do we have but to be really, really clear on who we are and how we feel so that we can serve however we're meant to. If someone's meant to be in the political sphere, but they're feeling disempowered, they're not going to have the energy. And so I really, really hope that everyone coming to their own spirit self is actually not so like playing that comparison game. It's not really going to serve anything anyway. It seems like your message has a lot to do with that, actually, just the way you're naturally living.
I Yeah, I gave a talk on authentic power. I coined, I don't have it memorized, but now I need to memorize it. It's like the 8 principles of authentic power.
Mm.
And I think the second one that I wrote is true power is shared.
Yeah.
And this is something that's a principle of abundance because power, and the other one, I think that's right before it, is power is infinite, inextinguishable, and inexhaustible.
Yes,
Right?
thank you.
So if something is eternal, right? And these are absolute truths. We're not talking about relative reality where it's like I have this much rice and da 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 da. But in an absolute truth, which is the field we play in with spirituality and what makes the spiritual world different than the physical world, is
Hmm.
that energy is infinite and can't be destroyed, and we work with the currency, right? The currency, the frequency, and money, as I've seen, material wealth. And even when we were talking about marketing and the way that the business works, it is really in a current of this infinite, and waves also, because things are cyclical,
Hmm.
right? So you have to trust this natural rhythm of the way of things. And I think the difference of that is that people in human nature, and I've experienced a great deal of this in my own woundings, karmically, initiation. This is definitely something I carry from past lives, is that people are jealous and competitive and really do believe that there is a limited resource, and therefore really play power positioning games with each other, versus circular leadership,
Hmm.
right? And so I bow in deep respect. And actually, a part of that dark night of the soul was having a matriarch in a circle really feel threatened by my youth and my rising power,
Hmm.
and not understanding how, and feeling territorial. And maybe God bless her, because it gave me a really good initiation for how to not be that as a matriarch. And maybe perhaps I was at one point in another part of my soul's journey, but in this lifetime, something that I carry, and also really cool template, as like this archetype in me that's like, I'm only 41, but I still feel like I have like this grandmother wisdom. And something came, when I'm on, say I'm at a retreat with a woman, with a bunch of women, right? I'm in a big circle, like there's a 50, at least 50 women. I don't know why, but I tend to like be this like this grandmother role in the kind of in the back, and like these, like you were talking about the newer spiritual people, and they're all like, "Ah, da, 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 da," and like very excited about everything, and like I'm like this different texture and this different frequency. And because of these initiations of being cast out because of my magnitude or whatever, bigness or shine, let's call it my shine, um, something that I have is a deep, it just happens. I don't even have to try. And it's also in my work as a coach, is that I have a gift in I don't even know what the word is to call it, um, to be that bedrock that other beings can feel lifted on in that way. Does that make sense? So it's
Hmm.
like, as I create a space or ground a frequency or do something, then other beings come in, and then they are bigger because of what I'm holding underneath. And
Hmm.
so I'm empowering them, their journey, their soul. I'm like blessing them with wisdom, and like they go forward. And I think that that's a really important part of my prayer and my gift and my service work
Hmm.
in the world, is like noticing that's my place in the circle. And that was
Yes.
a big initiation that I had, which is like we need to know what our place in the circle is, and don't shrink from it and take that power position, but also be attuned enough to listen to what's being asked of us in the moment, because so everybody thinks that them being on the top of the pyramid is the power, and it's not always.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes your lead is from behind. And if you truly, this is like my message, this is like soapbox message for everybody, because I work with musicians, right? If you truly listen, and then you dance with and keep a lot of space, and you're not as conceited or like worried about like your moment to shine, you're going to gel in a field that will then, spirit will like mirror and map to you, and the entire frequency of the ceremony will raise by you attuning and listening to what's being asked for you to hold. And that's a blessing for everyone involved. And I wish that we collectively were mapping, and what we're like, that's what we were devoted to, and we're bringing that down to earth together. Yeah.
Hmm. I love that. And we need so many more spaces and so many more voices in these circles. And hilariously, like far away, far off, dreamy uh, kind of vision that I have is actually like a whole bunch of people holding hands in the spirit of like each person's intuition and heart. Like that, I love things like that. I was like a free hugs campaign kid when I was a teenager, and I think there's like a lot of readiness as well in the world for these types of step ups maybe, or of like coming back to self, self being this really empowered oracle voice of your own life, however that looks for all people. If your design is to be working in a women's shelter, that's your oracle voice in that space. And that's kind of what you're saying too, is like even in spaces that you've been in before, you were like, this is the way that I'm going to present myself. Really, that's constantly changing for all of us anyway. There isn't any one OracleFest speaker I've spoken to where I think, oh, they've just done one thing, they're only going to do one thing the rest of their, like, it's just not the way, because
Oh,
we're
sure.
healing holistically. And so a lot of folks, I think, get tied into one thing or another thing for fear of what happens. Will I join community as I break into a new identity? Is like a real fear that a lot of people come up to. And especially, there is still a lot of animosity or confusion that gets labeled as hatred, I'm going to say, with spiritual work, where there's like people who might look at folks who do this work and think, oh, well, I kind of wish what they have, but it doesn't get translated. That gets translated as, I don't like what they have. Right. And
I've
so,
been the brunt of that more
yes,
times than I
I'm
can count.
sure you have. I'm sure you have. And if you're a kid, they would just say, oh, they're just jealous. But when I was a kid and people said that, it still didn't make sense to me. It still wasn't really truthfully what I felt was going on. I really just wanted all of us to grow and laugh and to succeed together, like really, really, truly. And that's an old soul thing. It's a tough thing to be a kid when everyone's playing out their different stories and their parents' stories in a childlike way. And I know that a lot of
Mhm.
people listening to this are really going to resonate with both of our experiences in this way. So yeah, often on Oracle Mountain, there's these torches, and so people go to the fire and light their own torch, right? It's your own light. You carry your own flame. It's unique. And you have this torch, but all of the light is something that's the frequency that's needed. It's all of it together. It's not like any one individual's. So if you're so focused on your one individual flame, you're not going to be able to see actually the like all the light that's with you and supporting you, and how necessary your unique being is already appreciated for existing. Even if there's always people who like sit out of the circle a little bit, well, we need those people, because there's people who feel more involved and people who don't. Like I in my shamanic trainings, we had visioned, all of us visioned, to try and find the name of like our group together, like a spirit name for our group, our clan, because it was in Scotland. And I had a vision. After the name was chosen, we all journeyed to integrate that vision in our own ways. And my spirit name is Fire Warrior. And I was like, come on, everybody. There's a fire all around and everyone's laying down. Come on, everyone. Come on. And it felt like I was like a little kid trying to like start the wave and have everyone play a game. And I was so that kid. I definitely did that as a kid. And it was so cute, because that what used to feel like a burden and like, oh, I hate leading and being responsible, I just want to be here and do my thing, suddenly be like, oh, that's kind of cute, Kate. It's like, why are you getting mad at yourself for just being the first one? There has to be a first one who gets super excited. I don't know if that's actually how it all played out, but it was really funny to kind of be like, really, you had to be like, come on, let's do this, let's do this. And everyone, one of my friends stood up, she's like, okay, I'm here. And it was a super grounded way. Like, it's very her energy. And then I was like trying to inspire everyone. And throughout the course, there were moments of that where I was like, you can do this, you're on the path, let's do it together. But I love this. I just love all these different metaphors and images. I feel like if someone listens to this specific Oracle Mountain chat, it's actually really visual. There's like a lot of feelings of stories that have played out here. So thank you
Awesome.
for that. That's been fun.
Yeah,
Anything
my
else
honor.
coming up for you? Anything you want to share with folks before We see you at Abundance Podium holding the pillar of expression, which now everyone
I
can
don't
see
know. I could
why.
do a little sound.
Let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
end with
yeah, yeah. I could do like
sound.
a, I could grab my bowl.
That would
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Let me do that. Okay.
You know, I'm going to be going to sleep after this because, for those of you who don't know, I'm in Germany right now, and I'll be in Germany for our Abundance Podium on August 2nd as well. I'll have that website updated in the next day or so you can go back and check OracleFest for the Abundance Podium link, where we'll see Michelle. We'll also have Debbie Dashinger returning and Arlene Porter returning, and a few new folks I'm excited to introduce you all to. So with that, Michelle, take it away.
Okay.
Oh, dear Michelle,
Oh, dear
thank you.
Michelle, thank you.
Such an honor. Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful.
I'm grateful you're here.
And thank you.
And
Nice to meet everybody.
see everyone
See
at
everyone
the Abundance Podium.
at the Abundance